The sterile, metallic glow of the Intergalactic Council chamber reflected in Commander John Hayes' steely eyes as he stood before the alien tribunal. Around him, the cavernous hall brimmed with representatives of countless species, each one staring at the humans with varying shades of curiosity, disdain, or outright hostility. Hayes, ever the stoic, held his ground while his team, handpicked for this mission, stood behind him. Dr. Michael Mick Hargrave shifted his weight impatiently, his fingers twitching as though itching to tinker with some alien contraption. Is it just me? Or are we the only ones here without scales, fur, or some kind of glowing appendage? He muttered under his breath. Stay sharp, Mick, Hayes replied, his voice calm but edged with authority. We're here to represent Earth, not crack jokes. The Council's presiding speaker, a towering being with translucent skin that shimmered like oil on water, raised a limb resembling a crystalline shard. Its voice reverberated telepathically through the chamber, a chilling harmony of tones that made humans instinctively uneasy. Humans of Earth, your species stands accused of reckless destabilization, the speaker intoned. Your unregulated mining of asteroid K-17 encroaches upon the Vaser Dominion, violating intergalactic accords. Elliot Price, the team's diplomat, took a step forward, adjusting the collar of his immaculate suit. Esteemed Council, he began, his voice steady and polished. Earth's actions were guided by necessity, not malice. We're a young species navigating the cosmos for the first time. Surely there's room for dialogue to resolve. Dialogue. The interruption came from the Vaser Dominion's leader, a hulking reptilian figure draped in ceremonial armor. His yellow eyes gleamed with predatory amusement as he leaned forward. You presume equality where there is none. The Vaser do not negotiate with lesser creatures. We demand Earth's unconditional surrender. Price hesitated, taken aback by the bluntness. Hayes stepped forward, cutting through the tension like a blade. Earth doesn't surrender, he said flatly, his voice devoid of bravado, yet carrying the weight of absolute conviction. The chamber erupted in murmurs, a cacophony of alien languages blending into a discordant hum. The Vaser leader's amused expression twisted into a snarl. Arrogant mammals. You think defiance is strength? You'll learn otherwise. He gestured, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared, highlighting Earth. You will submit now, or face annihilation. Price shot Hayes a warning glance, but the commander's expression remained unyielding. You misunderstand us, Hayes said. We don't know how to surrender. The Vaser leader's laughter was a guttural rumble that echoed through the chamber. Then you will be exterminated like the pests you are. Let the Council witness the futility of your resistance. Without warning, a series of panels in the chamber floor slid open, revealing an elaborate holographic simulation. The humans were abruptly surrounded by alien terrain, dense, foreboding jungles under a crimson sky. The Vaser leader's voice boomed through the simulated battlefield. Prove your defiance, humans. Survive if you can. Hayes immediately barked orders. Daniels, Reynolds, perimeter. Mick, inventory what tech we've got left. Price, stay close and don't touch anything unless I say so. Sergeant Hank Daniels, a grizzled veteran with a permanent scowl, moved like a shadow, scanning the alien foliage with his rifle at the ready. This place reeks of a trap, he muttered. Lieutenant Scott Reynolds, younger and eager, positioned himself on the opposite flank, his sharp eyes darting for movement. At least they didn't drop us in a vacuum. Small mercies. Mick crouched by a mangled alien device discarded during the terrain shift, his fingers already dismantling it. Give me a few minutes, and I'll have us something useful, he said, his voice tinged with manic excitement. Price, visibly unnerved, clutched his translator device like a lifeline. This isn't diplomacy. It's a spectacle, he said. The Council wants to see if we're worth keeping around, or if we're just a nuisance to wipe out. Then let's show them what humans do when backed into a corner, Hayes said, his voice cold and steady. The first wave came quickly, sleek Vaser drones descending from the sky, their plasma cannons charging with an ominous hum. Hayes dropped into a crouch, firing precise bursts from his rifle, while Daniel's traps detonated with brutal efficiency, sending drones spiraling into fiery wreckage. Reynolds whooped as he shot down 2 drones in quick succession. Not bad for a pilot, huh? Less talk, more shooting, Daniels growled. Mick's voice cut through the chaos. I've got it. He held up a crude device cobbled together from alien scraps. EMP pulse, short range. Should fry their circuits for a bit. Do it, Hayes ordered. Mick activated the device, and a wave of energy rippled outward. The remaining drones faltered mid-air before crashing to the ground. For a brief moment, the jungle was silent. Hayes surveyed his team. Good work, but this isn't over. They'll send more, and we're not sticking around to wait. Price looked at the smoldering wreckage of the drones. They underestimated us. That was their mistake. Hayes allowed himself a small, grim smile. And it'll be their last. Above them, the crimson sky darkened as larger, more menacing shapes began to descend. Hayes tightened his grip on his rifle. Move out. We've got a long fight ahead. The jungle closed in around them, a maze of alien trees with black, sinewy bark and pulsating bioluminescent veins. Every step felt like an intrusion, the forest itself seemingly alive, watching, waiting. Hayes motioned for the group to stop, his hand raised in a sharp signal. Daniels crouched low, his rifle sweeping the dense underbrush. I don't like this, he muttered. Feels like something's stalking us. Keep your head on a swivel, Hayes replied, his voice calm but firm. If they wanted us dead outright, they wouldn't be toying with us like this. They're trying to wear us down. Reynolds wiped a streak of alien sap from his cheek and muttered, Well, it's working. These conditions are brutal. Mick, still clutching his makeshift EMP device, glanced up from his scavenging. If you think this is bad, try rewiring alien tech in the middle of a firefight. Speaking of which, I'm about one part away from making something truly nasty. Keep an eye out for anything that looks important. Price, who had been lagging behind, leaned against a twisted tree, his breathing heavy. Do we even have a plan? Or are we just reacting? We're not reacting, Hayes said, scanning the area with sharp eyes. We're adapting. Big difference. Daniels, find us a defensible position. Mick, keep working. Reynolds, recon ahead, but don't engage. Price, stay close. The diplomat bristled but nodded, knowing better than to argue. Minutes later, Daniels waved them over to a rocky outcropping near a shallow stream. Best cover I've seen so far, he said. And it's got decent visibility. Hayes studied the terrain. This'll work. We'll set a trap here. They're testing us with drones now. But something bigger is coming. Mick, can you rig those drone parts into something explosive? Mick grinned, already unpacking his tools. I thought you'd never ask. As Mick worked, Daniels laid out traps using alien vines and improvised snares. Reynolds returned, his face grim. Scouted ahead. Saw movement, bigger units this time. Looks like tanks, but sleeker. They're closing in fast. Price swallowed hard. And what do we do when tanks show up? Throw rocks. No, Hayes said. We throw chaos. When the Vaser assault arrived, it was as though the jungle itself erupted. Sleek, insectoid walkers crashed through the underbrush, their glowing weapons illuminating the shadows. Drones buzzed overhead, strafing the human's position with blistering plasma fire. Now, Hayes shouted. Mick triggered the first trap, sending an improvised explosive hurtling into the nearest walker. The detonation was deafening, tearing the machine apart in a shower of metal shards and alien fluids. Daniel's snares ensnared the drones, pulling them into the foliage, where Reynolds picked them off with pinpoint accuracy. The Vaser adjusted quickly, their remaining units spreading out to encircle the humans. Hayes barked orders, shifting their formation. Fall back to the rocks. Use the terrain. Price stumbled, nearly tripping over a root, but Hayes hauled him to his feet. Keep moving, Price. We're not done yet. Another walker fired a bolt of plasma, narrowly missing Reynolds as he vaulted over a fallen tree. They're learning, he called out, breathless. They're not the only ones, Hayes replied. As the humans retreated, Mick hurled his last EMP grenade, frying the circuits of a cluster of drones. That's all I've got for now, he shouted. Daniels reloaded his rifle, muttering under his breath. One shot at a time. That's all we need. He took aim at a walker's leg joint, the alien alloy sparking as the machine buckled. The tide of battle seemed endless, the Vaser forces relentless. But then Hayes noticed a pattern, a slight delay in the walker's movements, as though they were synchronizing their attacks. "Mick, can you hack their command signal?" Hayes asked, his mind racing. Mick blinked, caught off guard. "Maybe, but I'd need one of their intact units. And time. A lot of it." "You'll get it," Hayes said. "Reynolds, you're with me. We're taking that walker down." The pilot nodded, a grin breaking through the sweat and grime on his face. "Thought you'd never ask." The two men sprinted through the chaos, weaving between bursts of plasma fire. As they reached the damaged walker, Hayes fired at its legs, forcing it to stumble. Reynolds scrambled onto its back, prying open a maintenance hatch with his combat knife. "Hurry up, Mick," Hayes called over the comms. "Working on it," Mick replied, his hands a blur as he wired a connection into the captured walker systems. Price, watching from the rocks, marveled at the scene. "They're insane," he muttered. Daniel smirked, taking down another drone. "Yeah, but they are kind of insane." The walker convulsed as Mick completed his hack. "Got it," he yelled. "I've got partial control of their network." "Good. Use it," Hayes said. Mick grinned wickedly, tapping furiously at his makeshift console. The remaining walkers hesitated, then turned their weapons on the drones. The Vaser forces erupted into confusion, their tightly coordinated assault unraveling in an instant. Hayes rallied his team, his voice cutting through the din. "We've got them off balance. Hit them hard. No mercy." Reynolds piloted the commandeered walker, using its weapons to carve a path through the remaining Vaser units. Daniels and Hayes moved in tandem, their precision and discipline unmatched as they eliminated targets with ruthless efficiency. When the last Vaser drone fell, the jungle was eerily silent, save for the crackle of smoldering wreckage. The humans regrouped, bruised and bloodied but alive. Price looked around at the carnage, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief. "We shouldn't have survived that," he said. "But we did," Hayes replied. "And now they know what we're capable of." Above them, the crimson sky darkened further as new shapes loomed on the horizon, larger, more ominous. Hayes clenched his fists, his mind already racing with possibilities. "They're not done yet," he said. "And neither are we." The air vibrated with an unnatural hum as the Vaser reinforcements descended through the blood-red sky. Towering war machines, bristling with alien weaponry, accompanied formations of sleek, angular dropships disgorging fresh troops onto the jungle floor. Hayes and his team stood atop the rocky outcropping, their silhouettes stark against the burning remnants of the last skirmish. Mick cursed under his breath, clutching his makeshift console. "They're bringing the big guns now. That's a whole armored division." Daniel slammed a fresh magazine into his rifle, his jaw set like granite. "Good. Let's give them something to remember." "Easy for you to say," Price muttered, his hands shaking as he gripped his sidearm. "They've got us outnumbered, outgunned, and we're running on fumes." "What's the plan, Hayes?" Hayes scanned the battlefield, his eyes narrowing as he calculated every possible move. "We don't hold this position. It's too exposed. Daniels, find us an alternate route. Reynolds, I want that walker operational and rigged for maximum firepower. Mick, see if you can cause more chaos in their network. Price, you're with me." Price blinked. "Me? Why?" "Because I need someone who can think on their feet. And you're not bad at bluffing your way through impossible situations," Hayes said, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. The diplomat straightened, swallowing his fear. "Fine. But if we survive this, I'm asking for a raise." Hayes didn't answer. He was already moving, leading the group into the dense jungle as the Vaser forces advanced. The ground shook with the rhythmic thud of their war machines, and the air grew thick with the ozone tang of plasma discharges. Reynolds stayed behind for a moment, furiously rewiring the captured walker. "Almost there," he said, slapping a final panel shut. The machine whirred to life, its alien systems now bent to human will. "Time for some payback." The team regrouped near a narrow ravine, its jagged walls offering a natural bottleneck. Hayes pointed to the terrain. We make our stand here. Force them into close quarters, where their numbers mean nothing. Daniels, you and Reynolds cover the flanks. Mick, set traps along the ridge. Price, help me figure out their command hierarchy. We need to take out whoever's calling the shots. The Vaser arrived in force, their war machines lining up like an unstoppable tide. Plasma bolts lit up the jungle as the alien troops surged forward, their battle cries echoing through the ravine. Daniels opened fire first, his rifle spitting precise bursts that cut through the Vaser ranks. "Come on, you bastards," he roared. Reynolds charged into the fray atop the commandeered walker, its energy cannons blazing. He laughed wildly as the machine tore through the enemy lines, scattering troops and disabling smaller vehicles. Mick triggered his traps, sending explosions rippling along the ridge. Alien troops were hurled into the air as the ground beneath them erupted in fire and shrapnel. "That's right, keep walking into it," he yelled, his grin manic despite the sweat pouring down his face. Meanwhile, Hayes and Price worked from cover, scanning the battlefield. "There," Price said, pointing to a towering alien with a crest of glowing spines. "That one's giving orders. Must be their commander." Hayes nodded. "We take him out. We disrupt their whole operation. Cover me." "What?" Price balked. "I'm not exactly sniper material." "You're resourceful," Hayes said simply, then darted out from cover, weaving through plasma fire like a ghost. Price cursed and fired wildly, doing his best to draw attention away from Hayes. "You'd better know what you're doing, Commander." Hayes reached the enemy commander in seconds, a blur of motion as he engaged in brutal close combat. The Vaser leader was massive, its claws slicing through the air with lethal precision. Hayes dodged and countered, his combat knife flashing as it found chinks in the alien's armor. The fight was vicious, every movement a test of strength and endurance. Hayes finally found an opening, driving his knife into the Vaser's neck. The alien gurgled and collapsed, its death throes sending shockwaves through its troops. With their leader gone, the Vaser forces hesitated, their advance faltering. Mick seized the opportunity, hacking into their disrupted command network. "Gotcha," he muttered, sending a false retreat signal through their ranks. The alien troops began to withdraw, their confusion spreading like wildfire. Reynolds took advantage, piloting the walker into their rear lines and unleashing a final barrage. As the last Vaser dropship lifted off, the jungle fell silent once more. The team gathered near the ravine, battered but victorious. Price collapsed onto a rock, his suit torn and stained. "We survived. Somehow, we actually survived." Reynolds dismounted the walker, grinning. "Not bad for a bunch of mammals, huh?" Mick slumped against a tree, his console sparking. "Let's not do that again anytime soon." Daniels lit a makeshift cigar, taking a deep drag. "I'll drink to that." Hayes surveyed the battlefield, his expression grim but resolute. "This isn't over. They'll regroup, and they'll come back stronger. But now they know who they're dealing with." Price looked at him, a weary smile on his face. "And what exactly is that?" "Humans," Hayes said, his voice unwavering. "We don't quit. We don't break. And we sure as hell don't surrender." Above them, the crimson sky began to clear, revealing the faint glimmer of distant stars. For the first time since their ordeal began, the horizon didn't look so hostile.